Cool. We'll start. Hi guys, Beryl and John from Organise here, and today we've got a lovely, awesome falconry display, and it's live. You're going to see in a minute, in a second. I mean, we've got Roxanne. Just unmute her. So, Roxanne and Paul, you're at Glenapp Castle, and it looks wonderful. You've got the weather with you. And do you want to quickly introduce yourselves? Because it might be harder for you. Like, just say who you are and why. What are you going to show us today?
So my name's Roxanne. I'm from Elite Falconry, and this is Paul Szkiler from Glenapp Castle, and we're going to show you a little bit about the different services we can offer guests at Glenapp Castle, and some exciting birds of prey as well.
Wonderful.
Okay,
wow, the owl's here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get ready.
You're the first one to go.
Come on.
Nice.
You're awesome, aren't you?
Okay. What's their name?
So this is Sage. Sage is an Indian eagle owl. Really pretty species. Nice bright orange eyes. Makes for a really nice picture in front of the castle, and he's really friendly as well. So we thought we would start with that just to show you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And Elite Falconry and Roxanne and the team have been coming here for quite some years, actually. All kinds of precious species, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
What's the latest one that you're so proud of?
So the latest one that we've managed to produce at the centre is called a white-bellied sea eagle. And they've never been bred in captivity anywhere in the world outside of Asia before. Wow. We've had a 7-year project to bring them in from Asia and build breeding aviaries for them. And we've managed to produce 2 chicks this year for the first time ever. Wow. So that's a really exciting species to have on board, and we're going to have that bird here at Glenapp Castle as well next year to be a part of the summer team. So something really unique for guests to see.
Yes,
that's
cool. So sometimes we have big groups, and they'll do an exclusive hire and include falconry as part of what they're enjoying here in what we call activities and experiences. And there may be as many as 6, 8 birds. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll do set pieces down on the little lake, where the fish eagle is diving down for a fish. Generally speaking, the guests absolutely love it. Doesn't matter what the weather is. They love engaging, having it land on their hand, particularly the younger ones. And for us, as a 5-star hotel here in South Ayrshire, part of our strategy has been to encourage people to stay longer.
Yes.
Most of our guests, probably 60%, are from overseas. And so one of the ways, beyond the fine food and all the ambience, is to have about 80 different things people can do, including one particular one, a favorite, is called the Sea Safari. And Roxanne and her team are partly involved in that too, where we'll set off into the Hebrides and do glamping with a private chef, as well as staying here. And again, one of the pieces is to moor our boat underneath Culzean Castle, which is this dramatic cliff-top castle. And this sea eagle,
Ripley,
will literally fly from the shore to the boat and catch fish. It's a big hit with guests.
Yeah, I saw part of the promo video you had, and it looked amazing. Oh, back again.
There we go. So obviously getting close and personal with birds of prey is something that people can't experience a lot of the time at home, especially guests coming from overseas. We find that the ancient art of falconry is illegal in many countries. It's something that people don't get the opportunity to do. So at Glenapp Castle, we're able to showcase our birds of prey and give people a unique opportunity to get close and personal with something that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And it often is a fantastic outdoor activity, especially in the current climate as well, with people having been cooped up for a long time. It's a really fantastic activity for people to get outside and get involved with birds and nature again as well.
What's your biggest owl?
European eagle owl.
How big is that?
They can grow as big as a golden eagle. The females can be up to 8.5 or 9 pounds.
I remember my nephew coming here and niece, and this, I think it was that owl, flew onto his hand, and the owl was almost as big as him.
Yeah, they're absolutely huge. The world's biggest owls, in fact.
Wow. So do you want to quickly explain a little bit how the history of falconry, what many people might not even know where that comes from. Birds were
Sorry guys, your sound dropped out there. We didn't quite catch that.
if you could quickly explain a little bit about the history of falconry, so how it was developed and what lots of people might not even know what it's used for.
The history of Glenapp Castle?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
absolutely. So he's watching. There's no more food right now, but it's coming, I promise you. So this castle is called baronial in style, and was built in 1872. It was built for a coal mining baron, a man called Hunter. He had 20,000 employees in the 1870s, and then he also married into money. So this was his kind of I've arrived moment. There was something here already, because we know that the walled garden's about 50 years older, 1830s, and the history there was with one of the Earls of Orkney, who designed this landscape, if you like.
Just pop that in.
And so it's currently 17 bedrooms. We're just putting in a further 4 bedrooms on the top floor in this what we call a penthouse apartment. And so, as I mentioned, guests literally come from all over the world. They come for the food, they come for the experiences, they come for the castle experience. There's around 170 acres, including a glen just adjacent to us here, which has species literally from all over the world. So giant sequoia, giant ash, and the industrialists and wealthy people that have owned this castle over the years, part of their bragging rights, if you like, was saying, I've just come back from California or from China and planted this thing. And so we've got 250-foot sequoias there. And so it's a real marvel. It's a bit like Narnia in that part of the grounds.
You've got the animals to match as well.
And we've got the animals.
So that's what I was asking. Also, the history of falconry is probably not known to many people. So falconry used for in the
history of falconry.
So falconry originally was something that was used to feed people. Basically put food on the table as a fundamental basis for survival. And it's developed over thousands of years. 4,500 years ago was the first known tapestries and sort of art that was found depicting a falcon on the glove with a hood on it. So that's the first kind of records that were made on some sort of a canvas of some sort, so we could start to see that people were using birds of prey. And in the UK, the very sort of original and classic bird to use for falconry was a goshawk. It's often termed the cook's bird because it would be used by the castle chef to provide food for the king's table. And that's kind of the sort of medieval aspect of falconry, which was, again, to feed people. But then people went on to use it in a more recreational way. And you have to forgive me that I haven't looked up the specific birds for each aspect of society. But each person, depending on their rank in society, would be allowed a different particular type of bird of prey. It was more like a status symbol as well. The other thing in falconry, which is really interesting, is that the English language is absolutely littered with falconry terms. For instance, hoodwinked is one, which is a falconry term, fooling people into something. When you put a hood on a falcon, you fool it into thinking it's dark. You could call somebody an old hag, which is seen as an insult. But in fact, that was a term for a certain age of bird of prey that you would take from the wild. If the bird had been in the wild for a long time and out there quite experienced, and it was a bit older, a bit more difficult to train, you would call the bird an old hag, or a haggard bird would be the right term. So there's lots and lots of terms in the English language that come from falconry as well. And this setting as well is the perfect place to be able to demonstrate falconry. Because of the medieval aspect, going back thousands of years, I'm sure there would have been a cook's bird at Glenapp Castle one day, providing food for the table. So it's a great aspect of history to show people. There's obviously so much more to go into, but it gives you a little bit of an idea that the castle in Scotland with birds of prey couldn't be a more perfect setting for us to provide this experience for guests.
And it is actually, it's become a sport now as well, People are racing the birds now, especially in the Middle East and through Asia now, racing of the falcons.
Absolutely. So that's not something that we do,
No.
But it is something that's come into the UK. They would do time trials where they race falcons and then line breed those falcons in a way which produces faster and faster and faster birds to then win the competitions. There's a huge financial aspect for it as well, where the prizes would be insanely expensive for the races as well. So that's a different aspect.
But you do hunting.
We do hunting, absolutely, and that's something we're hoping to do at Glenapp as well, going forward. So yeah, the birds catch all sorts of game. Obviously, it isn't for everyone, but it is where the birds do showcase their natural abilities, and seeing the birds chasing game is something that couldn't be matched by anything else, and is really unique. I've got a couple of different birds I want to show you during this time, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to leave you the call for 2 seconds, and we'll swap birds so you guys can get something different to see.
Super.
I'll be right back with you in 2 seconds.
Okay.
So Paul, you were saying, so did you ever organise a dinner where the sea eagle catches the fish during the day and then it gets prepared for a dinner for the night?
Not quite. I wish that was possible. What we do is we head up the coast from where we are in South Ayrshire. There's a little island called Elsequaig, and we head round what's called the Mull of Kintyre, up towards Jura.
Yeah.
And one of the lovely things we like to do, we have a big camp set up there. There's a strait between an island called Scarborough and Jura called the Corryvreckan.
Yes,
massive whirlpools, exactly.
Yeah.
But there's some very calm places in the under the cliffs, and we always get tons of mackerel and pollock. So guests will often fish there.
Okay.
We'll get a dozen mackerel, and then take them back to camp for dinner.
Yeah.
And they'll have, the chef will do a raspberry coulis, and they'll have that will be the starter, and then obviously into the.
So you do the whole nature experience. You do the whole nature experience where people actually see how it could be done. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, interestingly, most of our guests for those experiences, it's a sort of 2 nights in the wild, 2 nights at Glenapp, are from overseas.
Yeah.
And rarely do we go out and not see porpoise, occasionally orcas, basking sharks. But because we're out there such a lot, we know where the nesting eagles are in the wild. And, if you're careful, you can see these. So it's a really upfront and close to nature, together with incredible food and, obviously the service that goes with it.
Yeah, that sounds like I want to come now.
Yes. We were out on the boat this morning. We were on an island at 7:30 this morning, actually.
Wow. So how close to the coast are you?
We're from all of our far side windows. You're looking down onto the sea, so we're about a mile away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Something else is coming.
Let's see.
Where is he?
We've got a different bird to show you now, guys. It's a little bit aerial. You just need to keep that down for a second, Paul. I'll swap it again quickly if she doesn't actually come over and show us something quickly. Coming in. So this is a little falcon. She doesn't really come to the glove until the end. I'm hoping that she's going to...
we can see him. We can see her, probably.
So this is Mito. Mito's a kestrel. So it's quite whizzing around all over the place, quite an active little bird. I was really hoping that she was going to show you a little hover in the shot. So I might need to step slightly further away from you to show you
that. Yeah.
But it's a falcon that's a British bird, which is really nice to see. We like to show people something that's slightly more closer to home sometimes. And they hover, which is a really unique thing to see. So I'll step slightly further away and see if you can see it.
Yes.
Coming in. Coming in. Coming in.
Yeah.
Come on. I'll try and show you her a little bit closer up. I was hoping to show you something a little bit more aerial. I don't know if you could see her flying around there.
Yes. Yeah, we could see her.
She's a little beauty.
So I'll let you see her in the picture there. Oh. So not all the birds that we fly will come to the glove over and over and over again. That's something that you can fall into the habit of with falconry displays, and that you have lots of different birds, all different shapes and sizes, that all fly to the glove in a straight line. And we always try to just show something a little bit more unusual, as Paul was explaining about the fishing aspect that we do. And this is a falcon that's just a little bit more aerial, so I know it's a little bit difficult to see in the shot. But you might be able to just see her flying around there a little bit and displaying something a bit more aerial. We've got something a bit bigger to come out for Paul to fly as well in just a few minutes.
Cool.
Yeah, so the size of the bird always makes a difference how they interact, isn't it? How they also hunt. The bigger the bird, the more they need to kind of take their own weight into account when they do their hunting, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people will think that it's the smaller birds that are more easy to keep, but it's not actually the case, because Mito here only weighs, she's going to do a little hover there. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Nah, unfortunately.
She just flew over the top. So yeah, this bird only weighs 7.5 ounces.
Silly.
So it's a tiny little bird to be able to manage, and even a tiny piece of food will affect her weight on a day-to-day basis, and we can very easily fall into the trap of dropping her weight too low. So we need to be really careful with that, and it's really careful weighing every day, monitoring that weight, making sure that the bird's at a peak appetite to fly. The bigger the bird, the more weight you've got to work with, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if she'll fly here or not, Paul. I've never tried. We can give it a go. Put that on there. So you just step into the shot a wee bit. Round that. There you go. Just keep it nice and visible.
Well done.
That won't to anyone else. So that's quite a new one for her.
Well, you're a beauty, aren't you?
And it's quite an interesting day for us here at the castle, guys, as well, because our birds, the same as everybody in our team, in our staff team, have been locked down for a while, so they've been having the luxury of flying on a 400-acre farm with no public anywhere, just on their own with us in the middle of nowhere, and coming out to fly at a place like this. Suddenly there's people and things. They haven't really had any interaction with people since March, so it's quite a new experience for them as well.
But that's
to come
the same
out.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think they're a bit nervous, or do they just kind of adapt really quickly?
People.
I mean, they might well be a little bit nervous, but that's what it's all about. That's one of the reasons why we're here today. Obviously, we were lucky enough to be able to tie it up with chatting to you guys, but giving the birds a little run through their paces, making sure that they're comfortable with the site and they know where they are and they're happy with the guests aspect. Obviously, Paul doesn't usually accompany us on our experiences, but it's really handy to have him here because it's a new face for the birds to fly for as well. So it works really well for us getting ready for opening up and inviting guests back to the castle.
Yes. So how is it with guests? How easy are they to kind of to interact? Are people afraid, or do they always jump when they get the chance to hold the glove and have the birds land on their hands?
So I would say that it's one of the more popular activities that we do here.
Yeah.
If people can, I would say probably a third or a half of the guests if you're here would want to engage somehow. If it was not exclusive hire. So last year we had 2 set days across the summer where we'd do a display, and so many people would sign up because it's an unusual thing to do, isn't it? Particularly in an environment like this.
Yeah. I love always, if I can see one, I always
say again.
I love I'm just so amazed what the birds can do and what all the history about it. I'm absolutely.
Oh, yes. No, it's quite phenomenal, really.
She likes to sit on your head. It's not really supposed to happen
it's
on
a
camera.
Little nest
sorry.
on top, isn't it? It's a little
yeah,
nest.
Exactly. Right, guys, we've got again something a little bit bigger and more exciting for you to see as well. So if you can give me just a second, I'll go and swap over again, and we'll show you something really pretty. So just I'll be right back.
Cool. We'll speak to Paul. Paul, how many rooms do you have? How many? What is the biggest party you could accommodate? Or actually, on the other hand, what's the smallest group size that's?
So yes, so we take because it's open all year round almost, apart from a couple of weeks in January. We take single bookings, but we have a lot of exclusive hires. I think last August we had about 12 days where someone had taken the whole castle for a birthday or just groups of people that want to come together. historically, it would be 34, 17 bedrooms, but with the advent of this new apartment in September, that will go up to 42. And then all around us, we have some really good relationships with a group that have about 7 5-star, really beautiful cottages on the river. So we do events here for up to 80, and we can accommodate them all, but it's on-site and off-site, either in those cottages or in the castle itself.
That sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
you say, sorry, I may have missed that. It can be exclusive use, but it can also be just on a.
Yeah, so it's open apart from 2 or 3 weeks in January.
Yeah.
It's open every day of the year.
Okay.
And people book us online like any hotel.
Yeah.
But people can hire the whole place, winter or summer.
Yeah.
And take it for a night, 2 nights, 3 nights.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's well sought after, isn't it? When you come to Scotland, you kind of need to have a castle stay in it for many.
And you know, we're in a variety of membership groups, including Relish Chateau, so people know that denotes that you have the finest of cuisine.
Yes.
So it's one thing just hiring a castle and bringing the outside caterers. It's different when you're hiring effectively a functioning 5-star hotel with all the things that go with that.
Yeah.
So
you're about to be upstaged, I'm afraid.
Say again?
You're about to be upstaged if you just look over your left shoulder there.
I'll move out of the way.
Oh, and he's gone.
So who have we got here now?
So this is Midnight. And it's interesting actually for Midnight because he only just started to fly away from home. And eagles can be something that's really quite, they take a long time to train. They're really intelligent and, you know, they like to kind of survey what they're doing before they actually do it. So it can take quite a long time for them to get comfortable with strangers, new people, new places, things like that. And Midnight is actually about 11 years old now. But he's only just started to fly away from home and get confident enough to come away from home. So he's by no means old. We'd expect him to live to about 35. Yeah, quite an age to go yet. I'm just going to try and get him onto Paul so that you can see. So you need to hold it this time. And just keep your glove nice and steady.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Just turn him around. There we go.
Nope.
Perfect.
You're incredible.
Not camera shy.
So black-chested buzzard eagles come from South America. You see he's got a really pretty, unusual blue and white colour, which makes for a really nice picture. But they've got a really unusual wing shape as well, and it's going to be a bit difficult for me to just for me to show you that today, because in order to show you that, we need to try to get the bird up nice and high on the soar. There we go, it's better. So to do that whilst we're on a small screen and trying to show you things close up is a bit difficult. But the unusual thing about them is that their tail is so short and their wings are so broad that when they fan their wings out, they turn into like a giant delta wing shape as the tail fans into the side of the wing. So a really pretty and unusual, you know, shape for an eagle as well. I'm just going to see if I can get him to fly in at a little bit of a better angle. Can I get you to? I just want him to go to the A-frame. We can get him in. There we go. That's better. Can you show off, Paul? There we go. Bit better mannered that time.
Oh.
So there we go. So these guys, they catch cranes actually. The scientific name is Geronatus melanalucus, which means crane eagle, black and white. So in South America, when they were discovered, they were seen hunting cranes, which is a huge bird, a big bird for the size of the eagle. But what they do is they go thousands and thousands of feet up, which is really easy for them because of this unusual wing shape that they have. They can rise up on thermals very, very easily.
Yeah.
And they go thousands and thousands of feet up, make a vertical stoop in at about 160 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And then stoop in and kill their prey on impact. So they're quite impressive hunters. And in experiences at Glenapp, what we're hoping to be able to do is get Midnight comfortable enough with the site to be able to go up nice and high and demonstrate that spectacular stoop to guests when they're here as well. So it should be something else a bit more unusual to see. Yeah, well, that would be handy, wouldn't it?
All of those crows.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots to see is the point. You know, great place for guests to come in, lots of activities to do. You know, there couldn't be a better setting in a nice sunny day in Scotland because it never rains.
Yeah,
so.
Getting down the south part of Ayrshire is always beautiful. I love it down that way. It's also, it's usually a very overlooked part of Scotland. I think, unfortunately, you know, it's...
Yeah, no, it really is. So I remember, I think it was last bank holiday, May, at the end of May, my wife and I went for a walk down what's called the Ayrshire Coastal Path.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday, we did 12 miles, didn't see one person.
Yeah.
So from us, for getting people here, we do some very strong marketing and draw people in from all over the world, but they're not stumbling across us. They don't come here without a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go down to Port Patrick a lot.
Oh, beautiful.
And all on the coast down to the lighthouse there with groups. I mean, take big tour coaches out to the lighthouse.
Yeah, no, it's very, very pretty part of the world.
Beautiful botanical gardens, plenty of castles. There's just so much to see in that part of Scotland, but it seems to be just all the big companies don't tend to head down that way. It's crazy.
Yes. Well, as you were coming down the coast, you'd have seen that extraordinary island called Ailsa Craig on your right. Looks like a little volcano. We were on there this morning at 7:30.
Oh.
It is, and it's one of our favourite little places to take guests.
Yeah, and do you do like fishing excursions as well?
Yes, fishing, take them for picnics. We've had people get married on there.
Yeah,
it's kind of part of the life of the castle, actually.
So what are your plans? Because soon you're able to reopen again, right? So
we're opening on the 15th.
So you're set. You're all set.
We're all set, and the tap turned on again for bookings, which was absolutely important.
Yes.
Because we'd been closed down since the 25th of March.
Yeah.
But we've seen considering 60% of our business is overseas.
Yeah.
A lot of it seems to be taken up by UK folks that just want to stay here because of all the quarantines, etc. So I think we should have a reasonable summer.
That should be good. It's
going to be a big year for what we're calling the staycation.
The staycation, yeah. You'll have to come down.
Oh, definitely.
Come down.
We'll come down for the honeymoon.
Come on then.
Yeah. So because I do think lots of people locally don't actually know what they have right in front of the doorstep. And, everyone thinks of going abroad, but currently I do think there's a big market for people actually exploring what they have right there and the history and all the activities.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't like that? Yeah.
Yeah. And if you get the weather as well. Do you know what? You don't really need the weather because there's so much to see and to do, but it helps if you get a little sunshine as well.
Yeah.
So say when it comes to say falconry displays, what weather would be the case where you have to say, sorry, we can't do it? Because I'm pretty sure you can fly the birds when it rains, so it's not...
I mean, we have a team of British birds, which is helpful. One of the birds that we've got here, which you can see doing an amazing video on the Glenapp Castle website, is Mara, our white-tailed sea eagle.
Yeah.
And being a white-tail, they're able to deal with everything the West Coast can throw at them in the form of awful weather. So to be honest, we can adapt the team according to the weather forecast and make sure that we're ready to do it.
Yeah.
And the restrictions on us about that are more about guest entertainment than the bird's ability. So obviously we want people to enjoy it as much as possible, take away some memories that they'll never forget, and have a really unforgettable experience. And if they're standing out in
and getting cold
rain and a gale force wind, getting really cold and uncomfortable, especially some of the guests from warmer climates as well, they can get.
They'll definitely remember it.
Yeah.
That's true.
We do want it to be a positive memory, though. So,
that's it.
Yeah, it's more about if the guests are not comfortable to go out or they would rather not, we would either postpone the experience. We've always got plenty of time when we come on site. So if it looks like it's going to rain for an hour, we're more than happy to pop everything away, wait a little while until it comes to more comfortable weather and then go again. But most of the birds that we have are able to deal with pretty adverse weather conditions because in the wild, nobody gives them an umbrella or pops them in a nice box. So
that's right.
Yeah, we just have to be a bit careful with travelling them in the heat sometimes, but we've got cold packs and things and air conditioning in the car to make sure that's comfortable.
One more.
Yeah, I need to fly him over your left side though, so you'll have to turn around this way first. There he goes. And then you can turn around.
Wonderful. So I get it, obviously, with any kind of incentive or group bookings, you can be booked as well. But how is it for just irregular visitors to the castle? If they want, is there like a regular weekly display that you fly anyway? Or could people book you in personally, kind of say, we're here, but can you come? How much short notice or long notice do you need to kind of organize something?
Well, historically, historically, we would have a falconry display if it was an exclusive hire and they wanted to have that as part of what they were doing, or a small group. It was only last year that we started to do set days
Yeah.
every week. We won't be able to do that because the summer's going to be too short and the occupancy won't be up to it. But we'll probably start doing that again in 21. Have a couple of days where, and essentially we take the risk, if it's 2 people or it's 17 people, and we take the ups and downs with that.
Yeah.
But we put those in the diary.
And could it even be for non-staying guests that they could just come and maybe pay a small amount and kind of come for the falconry display, or is that not possible?
Not really, no, because so for example, this year, we won't be open to non-residents until the 1st of October, and that's part of the sort of COVID-19, keep my hand down, COVID-19 response, if you like. People want to know that there's limited guests around.
Of course, yeah.
We have a Victorian tea rooms and a big glass house that serves food down in the wall garden.
Yeah.
That is open to the public. And if there was enough people and they were coming for an afternoon tea, we could combine a falconry display.
Yeah, just for people to know if they happen to be in the area.
Yeah.
Obviously not this year, but probably next year there could be, because like I said, if we can include a falconry display in any of our itineraries, we always love to do that.
Yes.
And it, sometimes with the timings, you can't also stay there.
Cool.
So that.
Yeah.
Oi.
Showing up.
Wow.
Go on. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So usually during the time of the year, could people come and visit the walled gardens? Like you said, you've got the tea rooms there. Are they allowed to?
Yes, normally, not this year, but certainly from next season again. We're open usually from Easter till October.
Yeah,
cool.
So people can just come and wander the grounds and.
Yeah, they have to book.
Yeah,
but absolutely, no problem.
Yeah.
And the hunting aspect as well in the winter is something that we're working on. We haven't quite settled on that yet, but it's looking like we might be able to. Obviously, a lot of the falconry displays, or birds of prey displays, I should say, is a more accurate term, are done here in front of the castle. We go down to the pond and we take maybe a half-hour walk around the grounds with one of the birds. So we're moving around a bit.
Yeah.
Go hunting, we'll be actively looking for game as well. If guests do have an interest in that and that's something they'd like to see, it'll be just a winter-only activity as well.
We have been taken over by hares.
Oh.
Hares and rabbits.
So you need it.
Yeah.
There's no shortage.
I'm sure my hawks will have something to say about that.
So yeah, well, I totally agree. I think Scotland is wonderful in winter. It's just in people's heads. People think they want to come to Scotland in the summer because they expect amazing weather, and then winter seems to be the no-go time. But I don't see why. So hopefully, maybe the COVID situation has kind of, got the idea in people's heads that they open up longer and extend the season, and that hopefully visitors will actually try to come in winter now. So that would be lovely, yeah.
If they want a Narnia experience, they've got to have a castle covered in snow.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so.
Yes.
That's right.
So you'd be hunting for hares and game then?
Yeah, pheasants and hares would be the main prey here.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, all across Europe, there's various sports with birds of prey that go on. We keep martial eagles at the centre. We're lucky enough to breed them as part of a breeding for conservation programme. A martial eagle is the largest eagle in Africa, and they've actually been recorded to have caught the largest prey animal in proportion to the size of the predator.
What was it?
It was a 70-kilo waterbuck.
Oh!
Small corgi.
No, well, let's not even talk about that because that's a genuine risk. But a martial eagle, its feet are larger than Paul's hands.
Okay.
It's 7'4" in the wing. The female, she weighs over a stone in weight, so over 14 pounds in weight. And they go thousands of feet up.
Wow.
And as I say, by far one of the most powerful eagles in the world.
Have we had one here?
Not yet, no.
We should.
We should, yeah. We're getting a young female ready just now, so there's no reason why she couldn't be a part of
That'd
the
be
team.
awesome.
You wouldn't be able to fly an eagle like that onto guest gloves. It's too big, it's too
heavy.
powerful.
Yeah.
But what we would do is set up. I'll just have to see. There's a car going past here. Just need to make sure that that's going to be safe for the eagle. Yeah, we're good. It's okay. So yeah, we've got what's called a Bulex lure machine. So it's like an electronic machine which has a big reel on it and Legless, the dummy bunny, which is a stuffed rabbit on the end of it, and we attach a food reward to it. So then we would set that up down the longest part of the lawn as we could, and attach the rabbit to the end and press the trigger so that it remotely pulls the lure out really quickly and zips it across the grass so that the eagle can see that, and she chases that down as if she's chasing game.
Yeah.
The reason, that's a great demonstration for the guests to see something really big and impressive, something unusual they wouldn't be able to see anywhere else in Scotland. Kind of experience, and something really unusual. The reason why I brought it to mind is you were asking about the different game that birds can catch.
Yeah.
And a martial eagle would be perfectly capable of catching something like a roe deer, no problem. They can catch huge things. We wouldn't be able to demonstrate that here because it's illegal to hunt deer.
You might have a number of guests fainting at that point.
Yeah, possibly. It's illegal to hunt deer in Scotland with anything other than a rifle, so we wouldn't be able to demonstrate that here. But you can certainly drag a lure, a large size lure, which can demonstrate the size of game that the birds are happy to take. And most of what we would be hunting here, if the guests had an interest in the hunting aspect, would be hares. If Paul's saying there's rabbits, that's perfect, and pheasants as well. If you were using goshawks, you might be able to train them to catch some crows as well. That's quite an exciting, quick chase when a goshawk catches a crow. But the difference is just a different type of action. So you've got a bit of a feel here for what we do with Paul and calling bird onto the glove and getting that experience to be close to the bird. But when you're hunting, things are done at a slightly more of a distance, but it's really action-packed. So when we go for a walk through the woods, for instance, we're basically acting like beaters for the birds, the same as spaniels would for if you were shooting. And we're looking to flush game out. And if you're out with maybe two hawks together, Harris hawks are social, so we can use potentially two flying as what we would call a cast when they're flying together. And every time you flush something, the birds are going to be, flying down really quickly into the cover to chase things. If they miss, they'll go straight back up in the tree, look for the next one.
Yeah.
It's all pretty action-packed. My Harris hawk that I was exercising earlier caught a vole earlier today.
Wow.
So not like
it's a lot of teamwork, isn't it? Like it's a wonderful teamwork to see. I was always amazed because you're like Roxanne. Your job, you can never take a day off, can you? Because the birds need to be flown almost every day, right?
Absolutely, yeah, every day. I've probably been working 7 days a week for years now. I can't remember the last time we had a day off, but that's why we do what we do. We're really passionate about it. We need to make sure the birds get what they need. We're really committed to flying birds here at Glenapp today as well. Obviously, coming down to tie this up, we've got about 7 or 8 birds with us in the car that we're hoping to include as part of the Experience Day team here, bring them down here, exercise them, make sure they get a couple of hours of work and get them through it. But every day back at the farm, almost regardless of weather, almost. We're out exercising all the different birds every day.
Yeah, because the birds really get weak if they don't get flown every day, do they? It affects them a lot.
Yeah, it's not really that they get weak, but they become unfit.
Yeah.
So you have to build up the fitness like an athlete.
Yes.
So what I'm asking the eagle to do, wherever he's gone, that would be good to lose an eagle on camera, wouldn't it?
He was up under that tree there. Basically what we're asking the birds to do here is fairly gentle work. They're doing relatively sort of easy, nice, slow flights. The weather's nice, it's windy, it's sunny, that makes it easy for them as well.
Yeah.
Relatively easy work here. But at the same time, if we hadn't have exercised them every day, they would still find that hard work. So we need to make sure that they were building it up. They're like athletes. And if you had an athlete and then you sat him on the sofa for 6 months and he didn't move further than eating, to get the TV remote and to eat a really high protein diet, and then you asked him to run a marathon, you wouldn't be very happy about that. So birds of prey are the same, and they need that really high protein diet combined with constant exercise to keep them going all the time.
Now, I've got to head off for another meeting.
No, we're going to try.
Very lovely to see you both.
Yes,
and we'll definitely come down to visit.
Very healthy considering you've been in lockdown.
Yeah, just a little belly here. So we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for this, and we'll just say goodbye to our audience and play your video so they can see the drone footage that you.
Wonderful. All right.
Wonderful. Thank
Bless
you.
both.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Bye bye. So that was awesome. First, I quickly introduce who we're going to have with us next week on Tuesday. So not a week from now, a couple of days from now.
Yes.
That's going to be Oz. Oz is going to talk us through Edinburgh. So we've done a lot about Glasgow. We realised we've never really properly done our own home city. So Oz is going to talk us through his favourite places or his favourite tour places of Edinburgh next Tuesday. And now we're going to see a bit more of the birds that elite Falconry fly.
We'll see you later.